Hello, fellow mech warriors, Mage Leader here. You know, with recent events sending the tabletop gaming scene into disarray, things are definitely getting less and less stable. Whether you agree with the policies at play or not, the ugly truth is that the days of cheap plastic minis may be drawing to a close. Here in the Battletech space, many players have found themselves dismayed. Between the announcement of price increases at Catalyst and Lauren Coleman himself bemoaning the cost of doing business as a glorified CCP middleman, it appears that things are going to get tighter long before they get any cheaper. However, I would like to issue a word of encouragement to my fellow mech warriors. What if I told you that there's an alternative? What if I told you that there's a place where you can handpick more or less anything from Battletech's extensive backlog of miniatures and get yourself a playable army, all without having to worry about whether or not your product was watered with the blood, sweat, and tears of a regiment of prepubescent Orientals? What if I told you that there's an entire extra layer to the miniature wargaming hobby that Catalyst has declined to share with you? What if I told you that if you're inclined to deny Catalyst your cash, you can do so without selling your kidneys for a 3D printer or gambling on eBay? Well, settle into your control couch and grab your yoke. No, not that one, you weirdo. Because I'm about to take you back to the wonderful world of Iron Wind Metals. Now, I'm sure that a few people have clicked off the video already and hot-dropped directly into the comments section. After all, Iron Wind is old and outdated. Their miniatures are primitive and poor quality, utterly unable to match the wonder and majesty of CGL's glorious 3D renders. We'll just ignore the slight issue of near-identical greebling patterns that make everything from a Locust to a Battlemaster to a Kodiak all look like they rolled off the same assembly line, the questionable plastic quality, and the appalling nature not just of the QC, but also the personalities and inclinations of a few of the designers. Look, Catalyst has done some sexy battle mech redesigns, don't get me wrong, but let's not pretend that their output is without fault. Let's also not pretend that everything from before the Kickstarter campaigns was outright trash. Between the first edition of Battle Droids and the collapse of FASA in the early 2000s, there's over a decade and a half's worth of experience, budget increases, artistic shifts, and improvements. Much like the artwork itself, the quality of the old miniatures improved dramatically over time. Some of these old metal designs are positively gorgeous, and a few are even superior to the soulless, samey redesigns that Catalyst shovels out. I often compare the two things in this way. Think of the new and old mech designs the way you think of new and old designs for the same family of car. Compare a Mustang from the 1970s to one from 2025. Sure, you can recognize the general shape and outline of the car. Sure, it looks modern and blends more consistently with the other cars on the modern road, but that's precisely the issue. Battle mechs come in all shapes and sizes. Hell, some of them are near artistic endeavors designed to capture the aesthetic of an entire culture. The nations that produce these things couldn't possibly be more different from one another, so why on God's green earth do the clan totem mechs have a virtually identical style to something that just marched its way out of the Luthian Armor Works plant? I'll admit that the older minis can sometimes be a bit, well, that. But I genuinely think that the new art style has sacrificed a lot of Battletech's aura for the sake of more marketable mass appeal, and it's not limited to just the minis. Just take a look at the book covers. Ugh. But I get it. The new designs do have an appeal of their own, and if you really can't stomach the old designs, well, I've got some good news for you too. A lot of those new designs are also available in metal from Ironwind. Granted, they don't have everything that CGL offers in plastic, but the majority of the classics are readily available, and the list is always expanding. If they don't have it today, it likely won't be too long before they do. Besides, complaining about the selection is a rather moot point when it comes to Battletech minis. After all, there are still dozens of tanks, armored cars, VTOLs, aerospace craft, and yes, even battle mechs that Catalyst has yet to cast in plastic, and likely won't without resorting to yet another Kickstarter campaign, which I'm sure will run perfectly smoothly with no hiccups whatsoever. Of course, the minis themselves aren't the only advantage Ironwind offers. Have you ever found yourself looking at a Lance Pack or a Clan Star box and see one particular mech that you cared about much more than the others? I don't know about you, but there are plenty of times where I don't want to buy an entire force just to get the one thing that I want, especially when Catalyst slips one particularly special mech into a large pack and then makes it an exclusive. Well, with Ironwind, you buy your mechs individually. You just go and get precisely what you're looking for without having to clog your shelves with extras that you don't care about. But hey, maybe you like the lance packs. After all, it's a cost-effective way to build up a force, especially for a new player, and those Iron Wind minis get expensive pretty quickly when you need to buy a bunch of them at once. Well, that's fair enough, but once again, Iron Wind has that option as well. Not only do they have lance packs, they have something Catalyst doesn't, something that virtually every other tabletop wargame does: themed faction starters. Think about starting out in virtually any other tabletop game. You pick your army or faction first, and then you build your force using minis from their lineup. 40k has combat patrols, Ice and Fire has house-themed army sets, Bolt Action has fully playable forces in convenient and cost-effective boxes, Catalyst has generic lances and clan stars. It's a real shame, and it makes it harder for a new player to truly connect with their chosen faction when their force is made of the same exact machines as everyone else. There should be more that differentiates an army than the color of their paint, and Battletech should, by all rights, offer that. After all, many mechs are more or less exclusive to certain successor states. Some are virtually useless to anyone else, and others are built specifically as an avatar of their home nation's culture. Why not encourage players to lean into their faction's aesthetic by offering them a force that actually exemplifies what they would field? Well, Iron Wind offers precisely that. They've got options for Inner Sphere, clan-specific houses, mercenaries, hell, even for specific TROs in the Word of Blake, all at a nicely competitive price point. As a final point, I'd like to talk about the actual process of building the minis themselves. It's nice that Catalyst provides their figures pre-assembled and ready for painting. It's convenient, it saves time and effort, it keeps you from accidentally gluing your thumb to your middle finger, but I'll admit that I've often found myself missing the building process. As a 40k convert, half the joy of tabletop minis is the actual model building process itself, a bite-sized version of scale modeling that provides the same satisfaction in smaller, more concentrated doses. Finding clever ways to modify or even pose your figures allowed you to bring your own unique flair to the gaming table and truly make each individual machine your own creation. The modernized, homogeneous look of the battlefield eliminates this piece of player expression, and I think that's a shame. Ask any heavy gear player and they'll tell you all about the joys of customization. Well, Battletech used to have that too. It still does, but only if you buy from Iron Wind. Here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, everyone has their own tabletop preferences. Some people are fine with Battletech's current custodians, others would rather buy secondhand clicky tech than give them another red cent. I'm in the latter camp, but I don't think it matters what side of that particular debate you stand on. Iron Wind has something for any and every kind of Battletech fan, from lance packs to classic minis to brand new designs. Hell, they even still carry minis from other game systems like Crimson Skies. I see far too many people in the space writing them off and thus denying themselves an entire second side of the hobby. Iron Wind is a good company run by good people, and they've stuck with Battletech through its darkest days. Whether you're a fan of reboot tech or not, these guys deserve your business. And with Catalyst's prices going up, the cost gap between the two has never been narrower. If you're still unconvinced, I encourage you to browse their storefront and take a look for yourself. You'd be shocked at how good some of these minis can look with a proper paint job, and I'm hard-pressed to leave their site without at least one figure in my cart. I put a link to their site in the description. Give the old guard a chance. Thank you for watching, and until next time, this is Mage Leader, signing off.